Welcome to Epic Church NWA. I'm Pastor Jake McCandless, and this is our Epic Kids time. Ever since we went online during this pandemic time, I wanted to make sure that our kids, our students at Epic Church, knew their pastor loved them and cared for them. Because at Epic Church, we love our families, we love our kids. And so, since the beginning, we've tried to make sure we've had a time for our Epic Kids. Now, we're looking forward to the chance to see everyone in person and meeting physically together here soon. Our plan is this week and next week, we will continue to be online. Then, following that, on May 24th, we will meet in person on the lawn, in lawn chairs outside, and we'll do that for 2 weeks. And then June 7th, we plan to be back in our building, and we look forward to that. But again, we want to make the most of this opportunity online. So thank you for checking out Epic Church NWA and especially Epic Kids. So boys, girls, would you gather around? I've got a special message for you. We're going to continue talking about hope and understanding in scary times. When the times are scary, when things seem bad, we want to look at what's going on and how God is still at work and how we can still trust him and that there's hope. We've talked about right now with this sickness, this coronavirus that is going around and things changing in our lives and us, you not being in school, but doing that at home, us not meeting for church, but doing this online. All of that is a change. We talked about that when bad things come, we need to realize that when God first created the world and put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, it was perfect, without sickness, without any bad, scary things. But the serpent came and tricked Adam and Eve to eat from the one tree God told them not to. And when they broke that rule, Adam and Eve were removed from the garden, and that's when bad things entered the world. But God had a plan to fix it. And he's already begun that plan. When Jesus came and died on the cross, that was part of it. When Jesus rose from the grave, that was part of it. And then Jesus is going to come back. And that's what we have to look forward to. So even when things are bad, we can have hope that God has a plan to fix it. But we also have been talking about how that when things are scary, when things are bad, whether it's big across our whole country and our state, or maybe the world, or whether it's just something that we have bad in our lives, in our homes, in our families. Maybe it's a sickness that we have or something like that. Even when those bad things happen, God is still doing good things. And that's what we're going to talk about again this morning. We're going to continue in our 8th lesson to talk about when times are scary. And when times are scary, today we're looking at our faith in God may be being tested. I also want to remind you, you do know today's Mother's Day. Be sure to tell your mom Happy Mother's Day. So this picture may look totally weird to you. Because I think when you're in class and you take a test, you do it on the computer. But your parents may recognize this. Back when I was in school, we did our test on a Scantron sheet where we would fill in the blanks, A, B, C, D, or E. And then they would run it through a computer and test it to see if you're right. Well, sometimes when bad things happen in our life, it's a test. It's a test to see if we will continue trusting in God and have faith in him. There's a book in the Bible called the Book of Job. And in that book, it tells about a man who loved the Lord, who followed God, who believed in him, but had some really bad things happen. And it was happening to test his faith. And even though the worst things that could ever happen happened to him, he never quit believing in God. Job set the example for how we should be when bad things come. So we find this story in the book of Job. And this happened a long, long time ago. Job was one of the most richest men in the world at that time. The Bible says that Job, so let's meet Job. Here's Job. I hope it's okay. I'm going to tell the story with Legos. So here's our Lego Job. And Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. They were grown. They had families of their own. And it says he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 oxen, which kind of like cattle, and 500 donkeys. And he also had lots and lots of servants that helped him. Job was a rich man. There was no one like him. Well, there was a time that we read about in the Bible where the angels came before God and they were given account of what people were doing on the earth. Now, we learned in the Garden of Eden, the serpent was Satan, the devil. But Satan began as an angel, and he still is an angel. He was in heaven, and he rebelled against God, and he was cast down to earth. But here in the book of Job, it says that Satan went before God, and God said, have you seen my servant Job? He's faithful, and he believes in me, and he does the right thing. And Satan said, yes, he does, but that's only because you protect him, and you bless him, and you've given him all these things. And so God allowed Satan to go and do whatever he could to Job, except take Job's life, to see if Job would quit believing in God. And Satan did some really bad things. That one day a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing. The Sabians attacked and carried them all off. And all the servants that were taking care of them were killed. I'm the only one that escaped to tell you. That was some bad news. Those 500 oxen, those 500 donkeys were carried away. Many of his servants were killed. And then another servant came running to him with a message. And he said, the fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep, the 7,000 sheep, and all the servants with them. I'm the only one left that has escaped to tell you. Again, bad news. But that wasn't the end. Another one came and said the Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and carried them off. And they put all the servants to death, except for me, so I could come to tell you. Those 3,000 camels, they were carried off. So Job, all of his livestock, everything he owned was gone. But yet another messenger came. This messenger came with the worst news. He says, your sons and daughters were eating together in the older brother's house when suddenly a mighty wind swept in and it collapsed, and all of them were killed and gone. So all of Job's things, all of his wealth, his money, and even his family, his kids, were gone. But yet Job still believed in God and had faith in God and knew that God was good, even though he was sad and he was upset. Then Satan allowed Job to get these boils on him, these bad sores that were so bad that Job reached for pottery, almost like glass, to scrape himself because it hurt so bad. But yet Job never gave up believing in God. Now, next week, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. And I'll give you a hint. Because of Job's faith, God gave him everything back. But when bad things, when scary things happen, it could be that we're being tested. And we need to keep believing in God. Keep believing that he's still good, because he is. Thank you for being a part of Epic Kids. I hope you stick around for our Epic service online. And if you've been with us the last couple of weeks, I've shared a song with you. And I like this song because it talks about following Jesus. And at Epic Church, that's what we're about. Following Jesus. And when you do, there's an adventure. So if you haven't learned it by now, surely you will this week. So sing along and try the motions.
Every day I choose Jesus, I will follow you. 'Cause there's a world outside that can't seem to make up its mind. It's saying this and that, that and this, everything's changing all the time. You are the light, the truth, the way. So I'll say, hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. I'll trust and obey every word you say, 'cause I know that you love me. I'm following your way every single day. I wanna be who you want me to be. You are the light, the truth, the way. So I'll say, hey, every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you. Let everything I do honor you every day. Every day I'll choose Jesus, I will follow you.